Hi everyone, welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super card game deck profile, and today I'm going to be showing you my original Brawley deck here, mono green colored, and I'll just do a quick explanation of what he's all about. So I built this deck around some of those new Series 7 Assault of the Saiyan cards, and this card is about getting some fairly powerful cards out pretty quickly, and also affecting your opponent's hand and field, forcing them to drop cards into the drop area from both those areas, and taking advantage of having those powerful cards out, striking their life down at a decent pace. And then the only thing that I would have done to this deck to improve it would be to add that secret rare Brawley card, which is really expensive if you were to try and purchase, so I wasn't prepared to spend that much money on a single card. So the deck is what it is, but I think it's decently powerful and plays really well. So we'll get stuck straight into it, starting off with our OG Brawley card leader here, and we'll get on with this deck profile. So for our leader card here, we have a permanent of this card cannot attack battle cards. In an order of when this card attacks, both players choose one card from their hand and place them into the drop area. And if you're unfamiliar with using this leader card at all, there are ways around that affecting your hand. And then we have an awaken of when your life is at 4 or less, you may draw 2 cards and then flip this card over. So flipping over into a really nice foiled image of Brawley there. And Brawley, the legendary Super Saiyan, and he has a permanent of this card cannot attack battle cards as well. In order of when this card attacks, draw 1 card and then both players choose 1 card from their hand and 1 card from their battle area and place those cards into the drop area. And once again, there are ways around that affecting you. Stick him up in the corner there. So next up we've got a 1-drop Brawley card here, so Brawley Dawn of Rampage, and it has an auto of when you play this card, look it up to 7 cards from the top of your deck and add 1 green Brawley among them to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So this card really good for seeking out any Brawley card that you might be after, and I have 4 of this guy in our deck. And now we've got Brawlys Ring here, so Bogus, Brawley's father, image on the card here, 1 drop, and this is a field card, so place and activate this card into your battle area, and it remains in battle area until you activate another field, and when you do, place this card into the drop area. And its permanent is your hand is not affected by your leader's skills. So as I said, there is a way around avoiding the skills of your leader here, and this is one of them, and this is a must-have in your deck. And I have 4 of these guys because you want to try and keep one of those out on the field as much as possible. And another Bogus card here, so Bogus, Controller of Monsters, and he's a 2 energy drop, and an order of when you play this card you may place 1 card from your hand into the drop area, and if you do, choose and activate 1 Brawlys Ring from your deck and then shuffle your deck. So this card very, very useful for finding those Brawlys Rings if you're unable to draw upon them, and activating them. And 4 of him in the deck, and he's a pretty handy battle card as well in a pinch. And another 2-drop Bogus card here, so Bogus, Queen the Beast. I have a couple of Boguses in this deck, and he has a permanent of cards in your battle area can't be placed into the owner's drop area by your skills. and this is very necessary for when you awaken your leader and you want to avoid dropping any cards from your battle area when you choose to attack with him. And has an order of when you play this card you get to draw a card as well, so that's pretty handy. And 4 of that, because that is another must have out on your field when you awaken your leader. Okay, and now we have our Circa combo for this deck, and it is a 2-drop Defending Father Paragus, and it has an order of when you combo with this card, if your leader card is green and your life is at 4 or less, you can draw 2 cards and then choose 1 card from your hand and send it to the warp. And as with all super combos, we have 4 of this in our deck. Next we have Endless Evolution Brawley here, so 3 energy drop for this guy, and he has a permanent of when evolving this card into a Brawley from your hand, the evolution cost decreases by 2, so a cost of 4 energy reduces to just 2, and has an order of when you play this card, your opponent chooses 1 of their battle cards and KOs it. So that is extremely good for knocking a card from your opponent's battle area. And 4 of him in our deck, very handy card. Okay, moving into 4 energy cost card now, unless you are evolving him, which is the best way to go, and especially if you do so onto that previous card, Endless Evolution, it will only cost you 1 energy to do so. And we've got a permanent of when evolving this card into a Brawley, once again with a different card name from your hand, the evolve cost is reduced by 2. And an order of when you play this card, if your leader card is Brawley, your opponent may choose 1 of their battle cards and KO it, and if they don't KO a card this way, they instead choose 2 cards in their hand and place them into the drop area. So giving your opponent a choice there, and but still affecting their ability to play pretty heavily. And 4 of him. Because I really like using this card as well when I can. Okay, so moving up into a higher energy cost card here. Once again, unless you are evolving onto the previous cards, which do reduce it, and we've got Brawley, the Rampaging Horror, 6 energy drop card, and when you play this card, choose up to 2 cards from your opponent's hand and place them into the drop area. So another card affecting your opponent's ability to play there. 4 of him also, really awesome card because it does feature a double strike ability as well. Alright, well now we've got what is probably my second favourite card in this deck. So it's a 7 energy drop Brawley, the Supreme Berserker, and also is an evolution card, so being able to reduce that cost if you get to put him on top of Endless Evolution Brawley or Deathless Warrior Brawley out on the field if you have one. and has critical, so forcing your opponent to drop his life into the drop area instead of into his hand when you strike it, and a barrier, so protecting him from skills affecting this card, and has once per turn, an order of once per turn, burst 5, so having to drop 5 cards from the top of your deck to use these skills. And when this card attacks, if your leader card is a Brawley card, choose one of these. So if your opponent has 3 or less cards in their hand, which they probably will if you've been affecting it, switch this card to active mode, so essentially making him a dual attack as well. And or if your opponent has 4 or more cards in their hand, they reveal their hand, and you can choose one card from it, and your opponent places it into the drop area, so getting to see your opponent's hand as well as choosing one of those cards to go into the drop area. And 4 of him in this deck. And now we have what is my favourite card in this deck. So 8 drop, Super Saiyan 3 Brawley, Saiyan Berserker, and he has a permanent skill which I'll just quickly explain because they don't do the best job of it here, and there is a re-edit of it on the official Dragon Ball Super card game website. And so what it is basically you cannot play this card in any other deck other than this mono green colored deck. And then he has an activate main of for 4 energies. You can choose one Brawlys Ring in your battle area and place it into the owner's drop area, and then play this card from your hand, so making you able to play this guy for a pretty low energy cost and pretty early on, changing how this deck used to be played quite a bit. And then has an order of when you play this card, choose up to 1 green Brawley card in your hand with an energy cost of 7 or less and play it. So that skill really awesome, enabling you to pull out one of these really strong Brawley cards here and play it with this card, upping your strike power by quite a bit, enabling you to really attack your opponent heavily, and especially if you have affected his hand quite a bit with the other skills available on previous cards. And has a second order of when this card is placed in your drop area from your hand by a skill, or your leader card is Brawley, skill and your leader card is Brawley, sorry, choose up to 1 Brawlys Ring from your deck and activate it, and then shuffle your deck. And if you do, choose 1 or 2 cards in your life and add them to your hand. So if you're in need of a Brawlys Ring and your leader skill is affecting your hand, you can use it to drop this guy from it, preferably if you do have 2 of them in your hand, and then striking 1 or 2 lives to bring that Brawlys Ring out in play, enabling you to get one of these guys out for 4 energy cost, as I said, if you have a second in your hand. So those skills coming into play really well with this card and with this deck. And I like to bring out the 7 drop Brawley if possible when he comes out, because he has that barrier and ability to dual attack and critical and so on and so forth. Into the defensive side of the deck now. So as well as being pretty heavy in the offense, we have a fair amount of defense thrown into this deck profile as well. So we've got a 1 drop shocking death ball here, and it is a counter attack card, so if your leader card is green, you can negate the attack and then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or less, and then KO it. And has a permanent sparking 5, so needing 5 cards in your drop area to pull this one off. And you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand by adding a card from your life to your hand instead of paying the energy cost. So if you don't have any energy and you're facing something like a double strike or a triple strike and you really need to negate it, you can drop 1 life to do so. And I have 4 of him in this deck. Alright, then we have another counter attack card, so 1 energy drop for the greater good, and this is another Assault of Saiyans Series 7 card like our Super Saiyan 3 Brawley, Saiyan Berserker. And if your leader card is green, you can negate the attack and then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 1 and KO it. And this has a permanent of, if this card is in your drop area, you can activate it by paying the energy cost and removing it and 1 green card in your hand from the game. So pretty handy ability there, being able to pull it from your drop area with that cost. And has an auto of when you activate this card, you cannot activate another for the greater good for the duration of the turn. And just 2 of him in the deck. And then our last but definitely not least, another Assault of the Saiyans Series 7 card, 2 energy drop, hidden power of the Saiyans, counterplay card. And if your leader card is green and your opponent, if your leader card is green, your opponent may place the battle card they are playing into the owner's drop area instead of playing it. And if they didn't for any reason, your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and places them into the drop area, so forcing your opponent to lose cards either way. And that is it for this deck, 4 of those, and I hope you like today's video and find this deck to be competitive and enjoy playing it if you decide to build one for yourself. And as always, until next time, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.